You know you've hit 60 when your hair has more layers than your social calendar. And frankly, they're both due for an upgrade. Let's be honest, at this stage, we're not trying to look 30 again. We're just trying to look awake on purpose. The right haircut doesn't need to scream reinvention. It just needs to whisper, "Still got it," while making your cheekbones do a little happy dance. That's where the layered bob comes in. Not the stiff, stacked, tight curved ones. Oversprayed triangle of 1997, but a modern, face-brightening, low-fuss miracle that moves with you. Because let's face it, if your haircut needs more maintenance than your car, it's not worth it. After 60, your style priorities shift. Comfort matters. Softness matters. But so does that little spark you see when your reflection actually feels like you. That's the magic of the right cut. It doesn't change who you are. It just stops hiding her. Welcome to Elder Insights, where we believe aging is not a style crisis, it's a styling opportunity. In today's video, we're diving into the layered bob, why it works, how to make it work for you, and which traps to avoid so you don't walk out of the salon looking like you time traveled backward. So go ahead, tap that like button if your hair's been through a few eras, and hit subscribe for more beauty wisdom that fits where you are now, not where you were in 85. Let's start with the first truth. Not all layers are your friends. Let's start with something many of us have learned the hard way. Not every layered bob is your friend. You walk into the salon full of hope, say the words "light layers for movement," and walk out looking like you lost a bet with a wind tunnel. The truth is, after 60, hair behaves differently. It's often finer, less dense, and more fragile around the crown and temples. So when someone starts slicing in layers like they're decorating a cake, things can get a little fluffy, and not in a good way. Here's a quick story. My friend Linda, 72, sharp as ever, walked into her usual salon, asking for a little refresh. She wanted to feel a bit lifted, not transformed. Her stylist got excited and gave her a dozen short layers. When she got home, her husband blinked twice and said, "You look like a backup singer from the 80s. Linda laughed, but the next morning, after 30 minutes with a round brush and still no control over the flippy sides, she wasn't laughing anymore. That's the problem. Overlayering creates work. It makes your haircut high maintenance, unpredictable, and often unflattering. You lose shape around the jaw. You lose volume at the crown. You gain frustration every time you try to get ready for lunch with friends. But here's the good news. Not all layers are bad. The right layers, longer, blended, and intentionally placed, can be magic. They can softly frame the face, create a natural lift, and add movement without the chaos. And best of all, they can take years off your look without making you feel like you're trying too hard. What you want is a layered bob that works with your hair texture. Something you can air dry if you're in a hurry, or style in under 10 minutes if you're feeling fancy. You want lift at the crown, not bulk at the ends. You want light shaping around the cheekbones or jaw, not random flippy bits that stick out like antennae. So next time you're in the chair, skip the stacked or choppy talk. Ask for soft layers that blend naturally. Keep the back simple. Let the front do the work. And if your stylist gives you that look, the one that says, "But this is how we've always done it," just remember, you've changed, your hair's changed, and so should the cut. Because you didn't get to this fabulous age to keep fighting your hair every morning. You deserve a style that makes your life easier, not more complicated. A style that whispers "still got it," even if you're just heading out to buy avocados. So now that we've cleared up the layer chaos, let's talk about something even fewer people notice, but makes a big difference in photos. Yup, the angle. It's more powerful than you'd think. Here's something most stylists don't talk about enough. The angle of your bob can make or break your whole look. And no, we're not talking geometry class, just the difference between looking sharp and looking like you fell asleep on one side of your hair. A soft, slightly angled bob, longer in the front, gently rising toward the back, can do wonders for your face shape. It draws the eyes upward, slims the cheeks, and adds a feeling of structure without stiffness. And at our age, that's gold. Too many of us have tried the classic even bob, only to realize it has one major flaw. It just hangs there. No movement, no lift, no real frame. It can end up making your face look heavier or your neck look shorter, especially if the length sits right at the jawline. It's like a picture frame that's just one thick square around your head, not exactly what we're going for. Let me tell you about Joan. She's 68, funny, stylish, and swore by her blunt bob for over 20 years. It was her trademark, as she called it. But lately she said, "I feel like it's framing my face in a not-so-flattering way." So she tried something different, just a gentle angle, with the front slightly longer and some lift at the back. Nothing drastic. The result? Her entire face looked brighter. Her jawline looked more defined. And the best part, she said, "I feel like I have a neck again," which, honestly, is the kind of glow-up we can all appreciate. That soft angle creates movement without shouting. It works especially well if your hair is starting to thin near the ends, because it keeps the eye moving forward, not down. It also avoids that boxy, horizontal line that can make everything feel wider. Now, the key word here is gentle. We're not talking about those sharp, dramatic angles that look like you're starring in a futuristic action movie. This isn't about edgy. It's about elegance with a little wink. So what should you ask for? A bob that's slightly longer in the front, maybe chin length or just below, with the back softly tucked under. A few long layers around the face help blend everything, and if you like a little volume, a bit of stacking at the crown can be flattering, as long as it's subtle. The maintenance? Surprisingly low. It grows out gracefully, doesn't need much heat styling, and still looks polished even if you slept on it a little funny. Just run your fingers through, add a spritz of something light, and you're out the door. At this stage in life, you deserve a haircut that makes you feel fresh, not fussy. A soft angle can lift your whole look without lifting a finger. A soft angle can lift everything without lifting a finger. But you know what can lift your whole expression? Let's talk about bangs. Yes, we're going there. They can be your secret weapon, or the fastest way to look like you cut your own hair after 2 glasses of wine and a moment of curiosity. The truth is, bangs after 60 are a gamble, unless you get the right kind. Done well, they can soften deep forehead lines, highlight your eyes, and bring an instant youthful lift to your whole expression. Done wrong? Well, let's just say there's a reason hats exist. Here's what happens all too often. A stylist gets scissor happy and gives you heavy, blunt bangs straight across the forehead. The result? Harsh lines that drag your features down and make your face look shorter and wider. Not to mention, they require trimming every 3 weeks, or you risk entering curtain over the eyes territory. But let me tell you about Marcy. She's 65, bright-eyed, and very much no-nonsense. She walked into her new salon and said, "I'm tired of my forehead looking like it's holding secrets." Her stylist nodded and, thankfully, didn't go the blunt route. Instead, she gave Marcy soft, wispy bangs that blended into her layers. They swept slightly to the side, barely grazed her brows, and opened up her whole face. Marcy's reaction? "Why didn't I do this 10 years ago?" She looked refreshed, expressive, and slow, completely like herself. No one even noticed the fine lines because the attention had shifted to her eyes. So what's the takeaway here? Bangs can work wonders, but only when they work with your haircut and face shape. Wispy, side-swept bangs are usually the safest and most flattering choice for women over 60. They don't overwhelm the face. They grow out gracefully. And they don't scream, "I'm hiding something." Avoid bangs that are thick, too short, or overly structured. Those tend to sit heavy on the forehead and can make mature skin look even more textured. And if you've been scarred by a past bang disaster, don't worry. This isn't about returning to the thick fringe you had in your yearbook photo. This is about light, airy softness that adds dimension, not drama. Maintenance? Low. A little trim now and then, and a quick pass with a brush or your fingers in the morning. That's it. If they start to separate midday, just dab your fingertips in a drop of lightweight hand cream and smooth them back down. Yes, really, it works. At this point in life, we're not chasing trends. We're choosing styles that frame who we are, softly, smartly, and with zero apologies. Bangs aren't about hiding your age. They're about highlighting your best features with just a little clever cover. So you've got the shape, the softness, maybe even a little fringe magic. But if the top of your hair is falling flat, the whole style fizzles. Let's fix that with a little crown confidence. Now let's talk about something we all used to chase in the 80s, and some of us never stopped chasing: volume. Here's the thing. After 60, a little lift at the crown can be the difference between a hairstyle that flatters your face and one that just flattens your mood. But let's be clear. We're going for modern lift, not retro helmet. The crown area tends to lose fullness with age. Hormones shift, hair thins a bit, and suddenly that once bouncy blowout falls flat before you've even had your coffee. And while teasing used to be our go-to fix, nobody's got time for backcombing and half a can of hairspray anymore. Let me tell you about Denise. She's 70, stylish, and still runs her own antique shop. She walked into her stylist and said, "I need more volume, but I don't want to look like I'm going to a Texas wedding in 1983. Her stylist smiled and said, "Let's give you volume with purpose." Instead of going high and wide, they focused on adding subtle lift at the crown, just enough to elongate her silhouette and open up her features. The trick? A few soft, stacked layers at the back of her bob. Not too short, not too layered, just enough to create gentle height and movement. And here's the kicker. She didn't need mousse, rollers, or prayers. Just a round brush, 5 minutes of blow drying, and a spritz of lightweight volumizing spray. Boom, done. Why does this matter? Because flat hair can make the face look heavier, and it tends to drag everything down visually. But with a little crown lift, your whole profile looks more dynamic. The eye travels upward, your face looks brighter, and you look more put together, even when you're just wearing jeans and heading to brunch. Here's what to avoid: volume that's concentrated too far back or teased so tightly it doesn't move. That's when it starts to look stiff. And let's be honest, we're not trying to look like we slept sitting up. We want soft structure, not sculpture. A good stylist will know how to layer subtly at the crown without sacrificing smoothness. You can even cheat a little with a tiny root lifting powder at the base if you're feeling fancy. And if your hair is especially fine, try parting slightly off-center and drying your crown section in the opposite direction. Instant lift without the crunch. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about chasing the feeling of waking up, brushing your hair, and thinking, "Ah, that looks better." That little bounce at the top, it's not just hair, it's energy, and it makes a bigger difference than you think. A little volume up top, game changer. But let's not forget the area we always forget: the back. Because what you don't see, everyone else does. Let's be honest, most of us focus on the front. That's what we see in the mirror, what shows up in photos, and what we adjust before heading out the door. But you know who sees the back of your head? Everyone else. And after 60, the back of a bob can either make your haircut look fresh and modern or like it hasn't been touched since your last driver's license photo. Here's why the back matters more than you think. Gravity. It's not just working on your knees, it's also working on your hair. The longer you go without a little shape in the back, the more your bob starts to look droopy. It loses its structure. It starts to puff out at the bottom and collapse on top, like a soufflé that didn't survive the oven. Let me share a quick story. Carol, a retired nurse in her late 60s, came in for a trim and told her stylist, "I don't care what the back looks like. I never see it." So the stylist handed her a second mirror. Carol took one look and said, "Oh, wow, that's rounder than I expected." To her credit, she laughed. But she also asked, "How do we fix it without going too short?" The answer was surprisingly simple. A soft, graduated shake in the back, just enough to give it lift and taper without going full stacked bob. The trick is subtle graduation, shorter underneath, gently getting longer as you move upward. This creates a natural curve that gives the bob a cleaner silhouette and a more youthful vibe. It makes your neck look longer. It adds polish to your whole look, even from behind. And here's the best part. Once it's shaped well, it grows out beautifully. No weird shelf in the back, no poofy triangle. Just a smooth, flowing shape that keeps your haircut looking intentional, even weeks after your last appointment. Avoid cuts that are blunt and blocky in the back. they tend to sit heavy and give a boxy look, especially if your hair has any natural wave or curl. Without shape, the back can balloon out, especially if you're wearing scarves, collars, or sweaters that push the hair up. And if your hair is thinning in that area, all the more reason to give it structure. A shapeless back draws attention to sparse spots, but light layers, well blended, create the illusion of fullness without needing to tease or spray. This is one of those details that doesn't feel urgent until you see a photo from behind and think, oh no, that's me? So the next time you're in the chair, don't skip the back conversation. Ask your stylist to show you the angle. Ask what it'll look like from the side. You don't need anything drastic, just a little thoughtful shaping to match the fabulous view from the front. Because you deserve to look great from every angle, even the ones you don't check daily. So you shape the back, frame the front. Now it's time to talk about the wild card in every haircut after 60. Texture. Yours. Mine. Everyone's got a story. Let's talk texture. The wave, the bend, the cowl like you've had since middle school. Yes, that texture. At a certain age, it's time to stop fighting your hair's natural patterns and start working with them. Here's the reality. As we get older, our hair often loses the predictable behavior it once had. Maybe it used to be straight, now it's got a wave. Maybe it used to be curly, and now it's gone mysteriously limp. And maybe, just maybe, you've been trying to fix it every morning since 1998 with heat tools, sprays, and a level of effort that should qualify as cardio. But what if you didn't have to fight it anymore? Let me tell you about Grace. She's 69, energetic, and still teaches yoga twice a week. For years, she flat-ironed her hair into submission, trying to smooth out a natural wave that just wouldn't behave. One day, she showed up to class with her hair air-dried. Soft waves, gentle layers, a little volume at the ends. She looked radiant. When someone complimented her, she laughed and said, "This isn't a style. This is surrender." But here's the truth. It was a style. It just happened to be one that worked with her natural texture instead of against it. The layered bob is one of the best cuts for embracing texture. Why? Because the right layers give structure without stiffness. They help waves fall in flattering shapes instead of awkward flips. They add movement to straight hair and give curls a bit of definition without bulk. If your hair tends to curl at the ends, a well-shaped bob can actually enhance that in a beautiful way, without needing rollers or fancy gadgets. If your hair's mostly straight but has a random bend or two, that's character, not a flaw. Instead of forcing everything into sleek perfection, try enhancing your texture. A little texturizing cream, a diffuser on low heat, or even better, let it dry naturally, give it a light scrunch, and move on with your day. Here's what to avoid. Cuts that are too blunt or too layered. Those tend to exaggerate the parts of your texture that don't cooperate. Blunt ends can make waves kink weirdly. Overlayering can make curls frizz. You want a balance, soft structure that shapes without overwhelming. And don't forget, the products you used 10 years ago might not work now. Look for lightweight, hydrating formulas. Nothing crunchy, nothing sticky. Your hair deserves better than that. This part of life is not about controlling every strand. It's about letting your hair settle into its own rhythm and realizing that maybe, just maybe, that rhythm is beautiful. The best part? The less you fight it, the more compliments you'll get, because confidence looks good with every hair texture. So here's the truth. You don't need a drastic change, a celebrity stylist, or 5 new hair products. You just need a haircut that fits where you are now, not where you were 20 years ago. And definitely not where someone else thinks you should be. A well-shaped layered bob isn't about chasing youth. It's about letting go of what no longer works and finding a fresh, flattering shape that supports who you are today. The kind of cut that makes you walk past a mirror, do a little double take, and think, oh hey, there I am. These aren't big changes. We're talking soft angles instead of sharp lines, light layering instead of weighty bulk. Texture you work with, not battle against. It's about smarter choices, not more effort. You've earned the right to enjoy your hair, not fight it. You've earned mornings that don't start with frustration and end in ponytails. And most of all, you've earned a cut that makes you feel like the best version of you, no reinvention required. So if any part of this made you laugh, nod, or suddenly want to book a trim, leave a comment and tell us. Which tip felt the most you? Which mistake have you made before? No judgment. We've all had the triangle bob. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because here at Elder Insights, we believe beauty gets better with age, and so does your haircut. We'll see you in the next one.